Okay, we're locked under Chalice. We draw our best possible. So here's an attack for 3. Second Ajani. Okay, we'll keep this one. Make another cat token. And if you miss your land, you're done. They missed their land! What's going on, gamers? It's Hexstream MTG, and welcome to another Modern Decktech and playthrough. It's been about 3 weeks since the most recent ban and restricted announcement, but for the most part, Modern seems to be in a pretty great place. Some existing archetypes have received a few new toys, and we have some new challenges entering the arena. Now, if you're an energy gamer, you may have lost as many as 8 slots in your deck due to the banning of the One Ring and Amped Raptor. To those players, I would say don't worry. Energy still accounts for the largest portion of the metagame share, sitting at about 13% according to MTG Goldfish if you aggregate both flavors, Mardu and Boros, and has been having a lot of top finishes on the regular. So let's take a closer look at what those Boros players are having success with. Here I have a pretty standard build of the current energy deck, and the two cards that seems to be the consensus replacements are Seasoned Pyromancer and Phelia Exuberant Shepherd. Now, we've lost a lot of value slots in the deck, and Seasoned Pyromancer is somewhat fulfilling that function in helping us reload our hand and generating a few tokens to the board, both through its ETB and its exile ability. That actually combines very well with the card Goblin Bombardment, as it's providing more fodder with which to ping off opposing battlefields and finish off opponents. Obviously, we have incredible synergy between Goblin Bombardment and Ocelot Pride innately, but now Seasoned Pyromancer is really helping us lean into that strategy further and giving us that extra angle of attack. Now, on the other hand, Phelia, we are a bit emptier in the 2 slot of the deck, so we need some sort of pressure and way to curve out on our opponents. Phelia does a very good job of that. It helps us hold up stuff like Thraben Charm, other removal such as Galvanic Discharge, and gives us plausible deniability that we have some sort of threat that we're going to be adding. It also helps flicker both Seasoned Pyromancer and Ajani to produce additional value on our side of the board, as well as any other creature that will then give us Guide of Souls energy and life gain trigger. On the other hand, it removes opposing blockers, number 1, and some of that time is going to be Rumble Scion tokens or Grist insect tokens, so it has a lot of application. Oh, and it can also blink Static Prison to reset your choice of what to exile and produce additional energy. Looking at the mana base, we have 22 lands in this build. It's a little low in my opinion. I would personally run a 23rd. I really like 3 copies of Arena of Glory, but in this league we went ahead with this configuration. So we have, as far as utility lands, those 2 Arenas of Glory, which synergize incredibly well with a escaped Phlage. Then we have 2 Elegant Parlors for some selection, 4 basics, 3 plains and a mountain, only 3 Sacred Foundries, and 11 fetch lands. So I'm a big Ragavan enjoyer myself. I have 3 copies here. This is a little bit non-standard. Typically you would see either 1 or 2. I think the card really shines in unfair matchups such as Belcher, Tron, Storm, stuff like that. So good in those matchups, worse in the mirror and versus Bowmaster decks or Yawgmoth. But I'm a huge fan. We have a lot of removal to help get it through, and it does give us the nut draw of turn 2 Blood Moon on the play. So for those reasons, I really love it. And imagine a format where your boy is being power crept out. Absolute madness. Anyway, moving on, we have our 8 standard energy 1-drops in 4 copies of Ocelot Pride and 4 copies of Guide of Souls. As far as the removal package, I have 2 Static Prisons. Remember, we're producing less energy now. We don't have Ether Hubs and we don't have Amped Raptors. So it's just the 2 Static Prisons and 1 copy of Chain to the Rocks as like a pseudo-static prison that doesn't exile non-creatures, but also doesn't have the turnly kind of energy investment. And then alongside those, we have obviously the 3 Goblin Bombardments we spoke about before, 2 Thraben Charms, a flexible removal spell that can also target the graveyard or destroy enchantments. It's pretty good in the mirror. You can get rid of opposing Goblin Bombardments. And lastly, 4 copies of Phlage for inevitability and additional removal. Moving on to the sideboard, we have 2 copies of Arm's Chant for combo and Rhinos, Containment Priest for decks with Court of Calling, Green Sun Zenith, or reanimate effects such as Espagorios. We have some targeted graveyard hate in Surgical Extraction, which is also quite good in the mirror, to exile opposing Phlages. We have 1 Meltdown for anti-artifact hate and potentially to get ourselves from under Chalice Locks. Fear Fire Foes is very good in the mirror and against Yawgmoth. We have 3 copies of Obsidian Charmaw to target Tron decks, and it's kind of good against Eldrazi ramp, but not nearly, as they do have a lot more lands that produce colored mana. 1 copy of Blood Moon for those decks and Titan, and then we have 2 copies of Wear Tear, which is just a flexible removal spell and especially good against Hollow One right now. Let's get into the games. Just a reminder, if you'd like to follow along during the games, deck list and sideboard guide are available in the description section down below. Let's get into the games. Okay, so this first hand, 2 reactive, no pressure. I'm going to mulligan that one. And the second hand, pretty greedy here. Just the 1/1 drop, but yeah, probably should have gone to 5, honestly. And really need to hit second land to be able to do anything. We do draw Ajani in our first draw step and start on Guide of Souls. Our opponent is on Rhinos. They have a pretty good start, suspending Crashing Footfalls turn 1 and starting with a Leyline of the Guild Pact. Tapped land to follow that up on their turn. We do get pretty lucky here and draw our second land, so we can add Ajani to the board. They of course do have all 5 types at this point, thanks to the Leyline. And it looks like they're going to exile our Guide of Souls in response to Ajani to stop us from getting energy and life. And yeah, we are pretty locked into having to draw a 3rd land to really be able to do anything, as this is not much pressure on the opponent. They missed 3rd land drop, which is pretty lucky for us, so we're not going to see any Rhinos there on turn 3. We draw an additional Galvanic Discharge, so it's looking like we are pretty reactive, and because I chose to fetch planes, we also don't have double discharge on their end step for when they do cast Rhinos. Here's a 3rd land for them. They shock it in, and it's looking like Ardent Plea, which is great news because 8 power versus 10 power is big in the context of this game. So end step, I'm going to charge up some energy here, not spending any of it on one of the Rhinos, and we don't draw 3rd land. We do get Ocelot Pride. I'm going to get rid of both Rhinos here, starting on Static Prison. They're going to go ahead and Force of Negation that using a Subtlety. And now I'm going to Galvanic Discharge one of those Rhinos, since we do have the requisite mana, and go ahead and pass the turn back to them. They're going to unsuspend their 2nd copy now, adding 2 more Rhinos to the board. And we are just too far behind at this point. My plan now is just to try flip Ajani, Pyro into, draw untapped land, add Pyro, kill one of the Rhinos, and then hope to draw into removal the following turn. So we do get lucky there with the land draw. Unfortunately, we have to shock in to cast Pyro. We do get 2 tokens, and it's going to be a total of 4 creatures now when Ajani creates a 2/1, so we are able to kill 1 Rhino. And yeah, we draw Bombardment, and we do have a Phlage in the graveyard, so we kind of set up if they don't have a 3rd Rhinos. So here they're attacking Ajani. I'm going to take this opportunity to kill 1 Rhino by double blocking it. They do have 3 cards, so we are kind of at their mercy. We know that they're probably all non-lands, as they haven't played a land yet. We do lose Ajani, but we do trade for a Rhino, and we're going to be untapping into Escaped Phlage. And of course, they have 3rd copy of Crashing Footfalls, which I think is going to be too much for us, especially given that they're adding a Shardless Agent as well. So here I'm just going to fetch planes down to 8, Escape Phlage, going up to 11, killing Shardless Agent. And then if they attack with everything, we can block 1 Rhino with Phlage, block another one with 2 tokens. And in fact, we don't even have to block with our tokens. We can just take 8, go to 3, and then hope to untap into something like a Static Prison. Oh, they tap off Phlage, so now we have to double chump, putting us to 1, and it's looking like we don't have a chance anymore. They do have 1 card in hand, so if we can somehow stabilize here, we maybe have a shot. But that's a big if. So here if we Pyro, we get one guy. I'm not going to play the land since we're at 1. I want to try and draw a basic, an untap basic. And yeah, if we draw exactly a removal spell, that leaves him with 8 power, and it still won't be enough. Actually not, yeah, it won't be, because we can't combine our blockers to block the same thing. So as of right now, we're taking 3 over our total life total. So yeah, we're going to bring in some Orim's Chance and a Blood Moon, cutting some copies of Goblin Bombardment. I think Thraben Charm is decent against I'm blanking on the removal spell that's an enchantment with for each land type. So Thraben Charm's pretty good against those. So just trying to figure out what the final cut was, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and cut one of those. First hand is far too many lands. Second hand, a bit reactive. Also, the mana's not ideal. If we have a 2-drop instead of the Pyro here, it would be very good. Or instead of the Static Prison, ideally. But we're gonna go for it. Can't be mulliganing to 5 with this hand, as we do have some interaction. And, you know, we have the potential to get bailed out by our deck here with either another 1-drop or a 2-drop to make our hand very strong. There's second Orim's Chance, so again, a little bit too reactive for my liking. 1 power is not exactly pressuring our opponent. So yeah, two kind of mediocre starts here in this match, unfortunately. They're starting on Xander's Lounge, so if they play Temple Garden, well, now they have all 5 types, and here is a Scion of Draco. So if we should have probably sided in Werte as well, given that they have both Draco and Leyline, as well as the enchantment that exiles. I'm sorry, I'm blanking again on it. As soon as they cast it, I'll bring it back up. So we draw 3rd land. Unfortunately, it's Elegant Parlor. We'll just take the 4 from the Draco here, and then if they try and cascade it into a Rhinos, we'll just Orim's Chant in response. And then next turn, we're going to try look to play 4th land off of Pyro and cast Static Prison on that Draco, most likely. So here we Orim's Chant in response to Shardless Agent. Just going to take a look at what cards they revealed. There's another Shardless Agent, 2 Shardless Agents and 1 Ardent Plea in that pile. We don't draw a land, so I'm going to try and draw a land off of Pyro here to cast Static Prison on Draco. Just to keep Static Prison and pitch Orim's Chant, since they did show us 3 other Cascaders in that pile of 12 cards revealed. Here I'm going to go ahead and fly Guide of Souls, just to start putting some pressure on the opponent. They still have 5 cards, so I can't sit around and do nothing. They have 4th land. And they're fetching 1 basic here into Leyline of the Guild Pact. Usually this would be a very weak play, but this is now life-linking attackers that have First Strike and Trample, so it's doing very well to kind of win the race here for the opponent. Now, if I Blood Moon, they will still have Hexproof. They'll still have all the keywords from Draco off of the lane line, but the opponent's lands will all be mountains. So this is good for disrupting them, but not good for removing the keywords from the creatures. So here I choose to go with Ocelot Pride to generate 2 life and a token, instead of playing Static Prison to exile Leyline. Not necessarily the right play, I'm not sure looking back on it. And then of course Draco naturally has flying, so I'm not going to attack my Guide of Souls into it. Here is another 8-point life swing from the opponent, and they add Arid Mesa. On our turn we draw a mountain. We would really like plains so that we can escape a Phlage later into the game. So here we're going to go for the Static Prison on Leyline of the Guild Pact to remove all the keywords from our opponent's creatures. And there's Leyline Binding, the card I was blanking on. So yeah, earlier I wanted to mention Werte good against this, Thraben Charm good against this. Should have sided in Werte. We'll be doing that if we get paired into another Rhino's opponent. So they get rid of our Blood Moon and are going to respond 2 Static Prison with Endurance. They choose to shuffle back our graveyard, which is fine, don't really care about that. But now they do have access to their mana. And here I'm going to fly Guide of Souls again, offering them the trade on Scion of Draco if they double block with Endurance and it. Maybe a little bit too aggressive. Should have probably sat back on that just to block the Scion. And they have land and 2 cards. Here's another ley line. So again, what would usually be a terrible draw and play for the turn is quite good here on like a board that is otherwise pretty evenly matched. So now this is going to give them a big advantage with all the keywords and the ability to gain life. We draw another Blood Moon. We're going to go ahead and keep that ley line locked under Static Prison. So again, this cuts them off of any spells on their turn. I have to chump attack here with Ocelot Pride to put us at 5 so that if they attack with both Scions, we can block one with Guide and not die to the other one. So unfortunately I have to throw that away. Go to 5, pass to the opponent. And what do they have? Brotherhood's End, so pretty clean win for them. Going into match number 2, we have 1 mulligan. This is a very similar hand to last game. Instead of having interaction through removal and arm shot, we just have a Blood Moon. So it's looking like our opponent is on Yawgmoth and they kept 7 cards. So they're starting on Delighted Halfling. We basically drew the best card in our deck for this point in the game. Top decked Ajani. I know that we have Blood Moon. I'm still going to get Sacred Foundry. I don't want to really tip off the opponent yet. I think next turn I'm going to fetch Plains, even though we have Pyro, and hope to draw into another red source just again, so we have the out to being able to exile, escape Phlage later in the game. So should have attacked first and then cast Ajani, just to not give up the opponent the information there. They probably would have taken 1. So here we have a rumble into the opponent keeping aggressed, but they missed their second land drop, which is huge. So here I'm going to get that Plains, shove on Blood Moon, and we already do have second Ajani to flip the first one next turn, if nothing else changes. And yep, here's an attack for 4. They do have a second land, but it's a Verdant Catacombs, so as of now they cannot cast anything, as they only have access to colorless mana. And we do draw a 4th land. So again, any land will be a mountain that's not a basic. So that's part of the rationale behind fetching Plains there. I'm going to pre-combat Ajani just to get it to flip. This is actually going to create 1 extra point of damage, since we do get enough energy to activate Guide of Souls, as opposed to having attacked with the 1/2 Ajani into something like the Halfling. Plus, it does let us remove that pre-combat and get an attack in with everybody. I choose to fly the cat token in case they play a Swamp and play a Bowmaster. And yeah, I mean, they're just locked, unfortunately for them. So part of the reason why you play Blood Moon, you get to cheese out opponents sometimes. And yeah, so I'm going to side out Ragavan just because they have so much fodder, like Grist tokens, Young Wolves, Halflings. Side that out and side out Blood Moon. We're going to bring in some Fear Fire foes. And yeah, try again. So here mulliganing to 6 once more. We're going to put back 1 Discharge, since we do have a second copy and a copy of Fear Fire foes. And I think you can tell from, small sample size, but in the first few games we have a lot of hands with 1-drops. And not very many 2-drops now that Raptor has been banned. But we do have an excellent first draw here. Probably the best card in the deck. Get to start off on Guide of Souls, and then second turn we'll have both Ocelot Pride and Removal, or a Fear Fire Foes if the opponent commits enough X1s to the board. They're starting on Green Sun into Dryad Arbor. Pretty great start. They're now rumbling. and they rumble into 4 non-lands, keeping Orcish Bowmasters. It's going to be pretty good against our Ocelot Pride here as the game goes on. So here, I know they have Bowmasters. I see they missed their land drop. I want them to commit it to the board, so I'm going to add Ocelot Pride to the board, and then I'm just going to massively wipe them next turn with Fear Fire Foes. That's the plan. And here they don't add black mana, and they add Wall of Roots to the board. Okay, they're spending one of that green mana to play a Delighted Halfling, so they missed another land drop, and we're going to take this opportunity to kill Wall of Roots, since they've already spent the mana from it for the turn and cannot respond with Orcish Bowmasters. And now I'm seriously considering casting Fear Fire Foes, but we don't hit 3rd land, so I'm going to wait on that and just add Ajani to the board. I want to be able to kill Delighted Halfling with Fear Fire Foes as well. And here it looks like Fatal Push in response on the guide. And now I think I'm going to jump attack the cat token. If they want to block, I'm fine with that. And we get to flip Ajani. I was considering offering up Ocelot Pride as well, since that is just going to die to Bowmasters if they choose to play it. But I decide against it and pass back to the opponent. Looks like another rumble for them. This time with plenty of options for lands. And they choose Verdant Catacombs and play it. They pass back to us, holding up Orcish Bowmasters. Attack with everything other than Ajani. Just trying to get them to kill one of my cats so that I can flip it and add Pyro or sweep. And then after some deliberation, I decide to go for the Fear Fire Foes here. My opponent's really hurting on mana, and this would essentially get rid of 3 mana sources by getting rid of Delighted Halfling, Dryad Arbor, and Eldrazi Spawn. So they don't respond there, obviously, since they don't want to have their Bowmaster swept, and on end step, we do get another cat token. They should have probably set a stop on our second main phase to kill the Pride before it made a token. They actually choose to ping us there, so we don't flip Ajani. They hit 3rd land, and here is presumably Grist. Green suffer 2. Okay, they have Hapatra, but we also have Phlage for that already. And they do have 2/1/1, so I think everybody's going to attack here. Everybody except for Ajani. Okay, so I'm not offering up my Ocelot Pride. That's fine as well. This would put them down to 9. And then we do have some gas left. We want to draw 4th land to be able to play out our hand and draw into 2 new cards. They have Soul Cauldron. They definitely fear Phlage. I don't blame them. They chose to go for that over exiling Grist and having both of their creatures essentially be Grists and going wide. And yeah, Static Prison is going to be enough here to do it, I'm pretty sure. We get rid of their 2/2. Add Guide of Souls to the board, and our entire team can attack. They're just too low. Too many missed land drops, some interaction from us, as well as plenty of pressure is going to look to win us this game. So we're 1-1 going into match 3. This hand is a little bit land heavy, but does have a 1-drop into a 2-drop, so we'll keep that. Our opponent is on the play, and they reveal Devourer of Destiny as their pre-game action. They exiled all top 4 cards of their library. It looks like it is a Eldrazi Tron deck, as we do see Expedition Map and Chalice. We start on Ugin's Labyrinth into Chalice on 1. So we draw 5th land here. We're not going to get to play Guide of Souls. Feeling very far behind immediately. And yeah, if they have a normal hand, then they're just going to, I think, easily walk over us. But they actually passed back with no second land drop, so we're going to take this chance to search up Elegant Parlor, mill a land, draw a land anyway, and play Ajani. So we've drawn nothing but land so far after they've turned 1 Chalice to us. So I think best draws right now, probably something like Seasoned Pyromancer, another Ajani, a Bombardment, second Guide of Souls, definitely not a Guide of Souls. So we do draw one of our best draws in Ajani. Very lucky there. They missed another land, so they've missed 2 lands. They're really banking on this Chalice on 1. We get in for 3 and play another Ajani. And yeah, if they have another turn of no play, I think they're going to be locked out of this game. So either dismember or land into something for them, I think is necessary. And yeah, no land. So they missed 3 land drops and ended up conceding on turn 4. So that was exceptionally lucky for us, as we did draw second Ajani and they had no follow-up. So here we're going to bring in some cards against Chalice. They do also have some talismans in their deck, and obviously they're a Khan deck, so we want some artifact disruption. Blood Moon to disrupt their mana base alongside Obsidian Charmaw. We're going to cut some removal and Goblin Bombardment. And yeah, we still need to kill Thought-Knot Seers and be able to damage Khan the Great Creator. So I kind of like Galvanic Discharge for that reason. Most of their non-creatures are going to be artifacts. So Thraben Charm I think is weaker than something like Discharge. Plus Discharge is more likely to kill Thought-Knot Seers than Thraben Charm. Actually, I don't even know that that's true, but yeah, trim on some removal, add a bunch of disruption for lands and artifact destruction. Our first hand has no lands, so mulligan again. This one's quite good, but will immediately lose to a Chalice on 1, so we're definitely banking on them not having that. And here we have another pre-game Devourer to help fix the top of the opponent's library. They choose to keep one of the cards and exile those other 3. So here we have basically every option available to us as far as a turn 1 play. I think Ragavan has the highest upside. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And yeah, otherwise I would have played Guide of Souls if we didn't have Ragavan. Here they have 3 mana on turn 2 and they play double Talisman. So they're going to be set up to have access to 6 mana next turn unless they have another Labyrinth. They have 3 cards remaining. And here we're going to take the opportunity to basically puke our hand onto the board. And we're 2 turns away from them playing something like All Is Dust. We exile their Besieger from the top of the deck. And I think, yeah, I'm just going to add 3 1-drops. I'd rather do that than play Ajani just because we're so susceptible to Chalice on 1. So I just want to empty out my hand and make them have it. So we're not going to be killing them next turn, but we are going to generate a massive board, and they're going to be forced to have All Is Dust the following turn. So they have second Tron piece here into Sowing Microspawn. So that's going to kill our land and give them Tron. They have 2 cards left in hand. So yeah, if we don't draw land, it's going to be pretty difficult. We draw a Static Prison, which I'm going to use to get rid of Microspawn. Talisman was one of their last 2 cards in hand. And yeah, we're just sending everything, hoping that they don't have All This Dust. And this is what you got to do with an aggro deck sometimes, put your opponent to the test. So yeah, I'm going to take the opportunity to use Guide of Souls to fly one of the cat tokens. And it looks like they have Dismember as their last card. They're going to kill Ragavan. So they are praying for a miracle off the top of the deck. Otherwise they can return Devourer to their hand. But at 6 life, I don't think that's enough. And they don't have it. So we take down that match. And we are 2-1 going into match number 4. This first hand, good, not great. If we're playing against an opponent that removal is not good against, it's going to be terrible hand, so I choose to mulligan. And here I'm going to put back Phlage, looking to not draw off of Ragavan. So trying to hit a turn 2 Blood Moon. We're on the play, so you know, you need to take these opportunities. And it looks like the opponent is most likely another Rhinos deck, playing a Lush Portico on turn 1 and surveilling an Arid Mesa to the graveyard. And yeah, we're going to go for the turn 2 Blood Moon. So if they don't have Force, they're going to be in a world of hurt. Force of Negation, that is. So we exile Fire Ice. That could be nice to draw a card off of, but yeah, we're just going to go for the high upside play. Part of the reason why we play these two cards. And again, put them to the test. Do you have a force? They don't. So it's going to be pretty hard for them, and they scoop it up. Okay, so we don't know if they are a Leyline Draco build of Rhinos. But I'm going to hedge toward yes. I'm going to bring in one Werte and not both. Goblin Bombardment, again, not great in the matchup. They don't have any small creatures for us to ping off. And they will be bringing in Brotherhood's End. Here's considering bringing in one copy of Surgical to exile Crashing Footfalls after the first one resolves. But I don't think that's good. So just going to stick to the ads that I spoke about. And then if they turn out to be a Leyline Rhinos deck, a Leyline Draco deck, we can bring in the second Werte. Yeah, so keeping Thraben Charm against Leyline Binding as well. Okay, so first hand, 2 red sources, no white, no 1-drop, not good enough. We're going to mulligan. Then the second hand, extremely reactive, very slow, mulligan again. And this third hand I think we'll keep. Still not ideal since we don't have any 1-drops, but you know, maybe we can be bailed out here with a good turn 1 draw. Opponent starts on Leyline of the Guild Pact. And suspend Crashing Footfalls turn 1. For us, we don't draw 1-drop. Well, we do, but it's not a creature. Pass back, we're going to Surveil. And let's see what they have for their second turn. They're choosing to upkeep fetch, so I imagine they're trying to hit second land. Maybe a bit of a greedy keep. So here we see Thundering Falls. They Surveil Brotherhood's End into the graveyard. That really tells me that they're digging for land. They do play a land. And yeah, end step we're going to find Elegant Parlor. And I think I want third land here, so we'll leave that on top. And run out. I have a choice here between Ajani and Phelia. I think I end up going for Ajani. I want to create a situation where the opponent attacks me with 2 Rhino tokens, then I end step Flash and Phelia with them not expecting it, and I'm able to attack and remove a tap token permanently. I don't want to have to chump attack Phelia into another Rhino. So they have Dead Gone on the end step. They have 3 cards left now. So hoping not to see land Cascader on their turn. We still have 2 more turns before their Suspended Footfalls comes off of suspend, and they don't hit the land drop. So this gives us an opportunity to develop our board and be more competitive going into those Cascade turns. I'm going to play Guide of Souls and hold up Phelia and pass back. Okay, they are digging for that third land. And they put Shardless Agent in the graveyard. So, again, very clear. Okay, they hit third land. Imagine they have a Cascader. Also, Brotherhood's End would be decent against us. Kind of alleviate that pressure going into their Suspended Rhinos turn. But it is better than that. It is Ardent Plea. Okay, so looking at the revealed cards, we do see that they have Sign of Draco. Obviously, they played Leyline of the Guild Pact at the start of the game as well. So we will be changing our deck if we do go into a third game here. And I think I have to shock because we have Pyro. So I'm going to... Actually, no, I can get Mountain. So I'm going to get Mountain. As we do have red, red, white, white combination between our 3 lands. Here's Phelia on end step. And that does give us an energy, which will bring us up to 4. So our Discharge can kill one of those Rhinos straight up. So there's a Discharge on one of the tokens. We'll spend 4 energy. And yeah, now we get a clean attack. So Phelia is going to get rid of that last token. Really shining here. We did get that extra turn when the opponent missed the land drop. And it's looking like it's going to matter a lot. So we don't have access to 3 energy yet to fly something, but we are going to get in for 5. And yeah, the opponent's going to unsuspend Footfalls on their turn. And we are going to see some fresh cards off of our Pyro, most likely. So, here comes Crashing Footfalls. And do they have a follow-up Cascader? No, they do not. They have Leyline Binding on Phelia. And they'll pass back to us with 3 cards in hand. So yeah, I'm happy to run out Pyro here. It's going to give us a ton of energy. We're going to start flying our guys, and we're going to create... okay, they have Leyline Binding in response again. So obviously the hand's all non-lands. They did miss some land drops. So we're going to get less energy now, but still enough to fly over those Rhinos. They're already at 10, so it's going to be very difficult for them to survive and pressure us, considering how high our life total is. We do also set up Phlage in the graveyard for future escape. And we draw into a removal spell and a Blood Moon. So we're kind of covering all bases here, and they're quite far behind, especially now that we're attacking for 3 flying. Just to put the counters on Guide of Souls and not Cat Warrior token, so that if they have Phlage or something like a Subtlety, they're not going to be able to block and trade for our Cat token. Also, if they have Endurance, we can attack into it and bump off of it instead of trading. Here's a Guide of Souls for the turn. And yeah, I'm going to choose to add that and cast a Static Prison, probably on one of the Rhinos and not a Leyline Binding. Although if I do Leyline Binding, I can get a ton of energy. So here's Subtlety, hard cast. They played a land last turn. This makes a lot of sense. I'm going to put that on the bottom, trying to draw a 4th land for Phlage. And yeah, I'm just going to cast a Static Prison on a Rhino token. Just make it so that they don't have an option to put any pressure on us, really. And if they do choose to attack, that they're punished by a counter attack. So here's an attack with Guide of Souls. This would put them down to 4. And let's see if they want to chump with Subtlety. I doubt they will. Probably want to combine that with something like a Fire Ice or a second Subtlety to take down this Guide. And we pass back. Love to see another land there for them. I think it's quite clear they drew that for the turn. And what else did they have? Surely it's not a Cascader. I think if they had that, they would have played it last turn. This is... I think they've tapped incorrectly. This is probably an Endurance. It's not. It's another Ardent Plea. So last turn they had double Leyline Binding. No, they had a Subtlety last turn. So they must have drawn Ardent Plea this turn and drawn land last turn, having gone land. Not sure. In any case, they're attacking with Rhino. We're not going to block. Take 6. They have 2 copies of Ardent Plea in play. And yeah, they have 2 more Rhinos now, so starting to look a bit more like a real game. We're going to choose to let go of that Static Prison since it did exile a Rhino token and we don't need it taking our energy. And they concede to us fetching, which would inevitably bring back Phlage. So here we're playing for the 4-1. We have a pretty good hand on the draw. And our opponent starts on Otawara. So it could be something like Blue-Black Frog. We're going to start on, I think turn 1, Ragavan. As if they do play a Frog and we are able to exile it with Static Prison, we're going to have the highest upside. They have a Thought Scour on end step and we do see Unearth, so our fears of it being a Frog deck are confirmed. Opponent also very appropriately has a Frog avatar. So here they shock in and they Fatal Push, so I'm glad to see that over something like Bowmasters. Here I'm going to do double 1-drop over Ajani as they are holding up blue representing Spell Snare. So we're going to add 2 1-drops and get a cat token. Pretty good spot to be in. It's almost looking like we were on the play. So here they have a... how big is this Regent? 6/6. We're going to go for the Static Prison. If they don't have Force, we get rid of Murktide. If they have Spell Pierce, we can pay. And yeah, here's land drop. I'm going to actually attack first and not play Ajani, so that if they have Fatal Push, we can resolve Ajani. If they have Spell Snare. So you're basically choosing what you want to play around. If you think they have Spell Snare, attack first to create an opening for Ajani. If you think they have Fatal Push, you should probably play Ajani first. If you think they have both, then maybe my play. I thought they might have both. And yeah, here we're going to target Ocelot Pride to put counters on it. And they are going to Fatal Push it. So, should have maybe gone for Cat Token there with the Guide of Souls trigger. I just wanted to get Ocelot Pride out of range of Bowmasters, but we knew that they didn't have it, so maybe the wrong play there. I'm going to spend the energy here on Static Prison. It's not going to allow us to Guide of Souls unless we pre-combat the Phlage, but then it creates a situation where next turn we can't pay on the Static Prison. Here I'm going to attack first, and then Phlage. Phelia on top, I think I like. It can reset the frog once it has counters on it. And yeah, here we're going to make them discard 2 cards if they want to keep frog, and they're done. So we're up a game here in the last match. I'm going to bring in 2 Containment Priests and 2 Surgicals to try and stop them from bringing back Oculus from the graveyard via Unearth. Surgical in this situation, I don't love it, honestly. I'm going to cut some Ragavans here as there are X1s going into a deck with Bowmaster, but maybe we'll keep them actually. I think I'm going to cut Blood Moon. The opponent was fetching very conservatively last game, so they're clearly quite good and very well aware of Blood Moon scenario. So I'm actually going to remove the Blood Moons and trim a Ragavan. But we are going to keep 2 copies of The Good Boy. And yeah, here we go into game 2. We draw both of the sideboard cards, and our hand's pretty nice. It's got a decent curve, just no removal, which is quite problematic against something like an early Frog or an early Oculus. But there shouldn't be an early Oculus given that we have this much graveyard interaction. So here I'm just considering if I want Painless land, so we do go for Plains. And we'll start off on Ocelot Pride. Yeah, I mean, Frog is very scary, Bowmasters are very scary. They're going to go ahead and surveil Dreams of Steel and Oil into the graveyard. And their main phase fetching, which tells me that they're going to tap out. Here's Frog. Yep, I mean, we're just going to try and go as wide as possible here. So I'm going to fetch Sacred Foundry and play Ajani, I'm pretty sure. We do have coverage of the graveyard with our Surgical, so I don't need to worry about holding up Priest. And yeah, the Frog is going to hold us off, unfortunately. And we'll pass back. So, yeah, they're going to main phase discard a Tawara to grow the Frog. So this is probably a Oculus or a Murktide. And they have Deluge for 2. Okay, that makes a lot of sense as well. That gets the Frog out of range and sweeps us. So this is going to be an uphill battle. They need to discard another card if they want to have enough power to draw a card. They do. They discard Unearth. So we come out at parity on number of cards spent, but they do end up with a Frog on board. We draw basically the best card in the deck for this moment. We top deck Chain to the Rocks, exile the Frog, add Ocelot Pride, and yeah, here I want probably lands. In a perfect world, would surveil into a Phlage into the graveyard, and here's Oculus, so now it becomes very difficult for us. We also need to answer this. Containment Priest stops Manifest Dread, so we're gonna fade a 2/2 this turn, but they still have 3 cards, so plenty of opportunities for removal on the Containment Priest, and we don't really have anything else going on, so they're gonna be wailing away at us with that flying 5/5, and probably interacting or adding to the board, whereas we're kind of stuck. Surgical's looking pretty bad. Containment Priest looking okay. And yeah, here's their trigger on the stack. In our upkeep, they do Fatal Push our Priest. And yeah, they're going to get a 2-2. So it's going to be pretty tough here. I think I want untapped land, probably Mountain. Okay, there's Arena of Glory. I'm going to Pyro. And then we're going to try and win somehow off of the back of Bombardment, Ocelot Pride, Seasoned Pyromancer. That's the plan. They could very easily counter here. They don't have a counter spell. So I'm going to discard Phelia, Surgical Extraction like we spoke about. And yeah, play to that out. We're going to go down to 5 on their turn. And we're going to look to go crazy with Ocelot Pride, Goblin Bombardment. Ideally, we draw 4th land so we could do everything and get many Ocelot Pride triggers. So yeah, they put us to 5. They have 4 cards in hand. And it's been a pretty good game so far. Here's Graveyard Trespasser putting us to 4. And probably exiling one of our creatures, I imagine. Yep, there goes Containment Priest. And yeah, looking to draw 4th land here. We do draw 4th land, it's a tapped land. That's just how it goes sometimes. So yeah, it's going to be Bombardment plus Pride into Chump Attack with existing Pride to get a trigger off of the second one, because we're going to have City's Blessing. So I'm going to put the first strike, I'm going to resolve first strike damage, gain the life, sacrifice that attacking Pride to damage Oculus. Instead we get 2 1/1s. I'm going to sack all 4 of our tokens to finish off that Oculus, and then we hope that that's enough, but I think that it won't be. I think their board will be too good. Okay, they choose to double block. I put the damage on the manifest token, thinking that, you know, if we have an extra creature, we're going to throw it that way and finish off the manifest token. But I want to keep both Pyro and Ocelot Pride, so I'm not going to do that. Here's our 2 tokens off of the City's Blessing. We'll finish off the Oculus. And, I mean, we know they have 3 non-lands, so it's still looking pretty bad. We're just trying to give ourselves any out that we can. And we'll hope. Pass back to the opponent. Actually do end up killing the Manifest. So here we're going to have to chump with Pride, and that'll put us to 6. But one of the Manifests is an Oculus. So there you go. Yeah, we need an untapped land there to stand a chance. So going into game 3, considering bringing in that Ragavan on the play. And yeah, I'm going to do that. Surgical looked pretty bad. So I'm going to look to high roll off of a turn 1 Ragavan if we can. Even into something like Bowmasters. This hand's very slow, no pressure, mulligan. Second hand has no creatures, extremely reactive. Mulligan again. It's just not our role in the matchup. And this third hand, no 1-drop. But yeah, we'll keep putting back Phlage and Sacred Foundry. And hoping to make the best of it. Real shame. It's been a pretty good match so far. They kept 7, so it's definitely an uphill battle. And yeah, I mean, they're going to, you know, Thoughtseize us. Turn 1 after double mulligan on the play. So we'll try and make this competitive. Our dreams of a 4-1 this league may have gone out the door. So I'm going to surveil a mountain to the graveyard. And we draw Ajani, which is a great first start. So here's another Ajani. They just killed the first one, or made us discard it. And they have Thought Scour, which I like to see. Much rather that than something like a frog. We draw Phlage. So here if they try and kill Ajani, we can Galvanic Discharge our token in response to flip it into a Planeswalker. They don't kill Ajani, so we'll pass holding up Containment Priest. And now as soon as they fetch, I'm going to cast it, just to make sure we resolve it under something like a Counterspell or a Spell Snare. As it will be pretty important if they try and unearth anything. But yeah, they already have 6 cards in graveyard, so they could just hard cast an Oculus here on turn 3. Really hoping that's not the case. And it's looking like a Murktide. So this will be a 5/5 Murktide, I believe. So we can attack into this and then hope that they don't have Spell Snare to get rid of our discharge. They block Containment Priest, and post-combat I'm going to go for that discharge. And it resolves. So get rid of the Murktide. They still have 5 cards. And yeah, we don't really add to the board that turn, since we're also stuck on 2 lands. Just have too few cards to work with. They're going to put Flooded Strand in their graveyard with Consider and Unearth Trespasser. So that makes a lot of sense. That's why they blocked our Containment Priest, and obviously it's a lot better than a 2/1, which they can Bowmaster anyway. We draw another Surgical. Too little too late. Wanted that last turn if we wanted it at all. And yep, there's a Spell Snare, so kind of justifies my earlier play with the Containment Priest. And yeah, ideally we Phlage this Graveyard Trespasser on our turn if we draw land, discarding Surgical. And then maybe we can set up Escaped Phlage, and that's maybe our only out. So here they hardcast Oculus, just getting further and further ahead. They have 5 lands now, which I'm very happy to see. Ideally they play a land every turn for the rest of the game here. So we don't block. I was considering a double block. I think that if we win this game, it'll maybe be off the back of a flipped Ajani. I'm not sure. Maybe we should have kept our life total high. But I choose not to block ultimately. And we do take the 3. I don't know. Looking back, yeah, I think the reason to do that is to try and draw untap land and kill the Trespasser just off of a Phlage. So I think that's worth taking the 3 damage for. So yeah, we pass back, and I make the mistake of thinking that the day-night flip on Trespasser uses the stack. It doesn't. I wanted to upkeep Galvanic Discharge their Trespasser, so be aware of that. Don't make the same mistake I did. So I have to throw away a cat there, but it does allow us to flip Ajani. So we discard our Surgical and cast Discharge for 2 to finish off the Trespasser. And yeah, now they're going to have 9 power and toughness on our turn. And we have 2 Phlages and no 3rd land. And that does it for the games. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out this channel's other videos by clicking right here. And if you would like YouTube to serve you up more of my content as I put it out there, the best way to do so, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.